My. Grandma get cussed smooth. My grandmama got smooth cussed out. Let me tell y'all this. I don't know how you feel gonna feel, but baby, I've been trying to walk around and make this shit up. I've been trying to walk around and make this shit up about 45 minutes from now. I've been trying to walk around, and I was gonna put the play button on it, hit record, and let y'all hear this shit to let y'all know I ain't making this shit up. I ain't never ever making nothing up. Let me tell y'all what happened. My daughter called, wanted to know what I was doing. So I said I was just, trying to hang around and was sleepy, but trying to clean up here and there and get some things taken care of. She said, okay. She said, me and the granddaughter's going to run down on you. I said, okay. They ran down. So mama came up for a second or whatever, and then she had to make a run or whatever. Okay. So that leaves me and the granddaughters, the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old. Y'all, I've been trying to run around and make this shit up all for 45 minutes. I've been trying to run around and make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Bertie Mac hit this shit straight on the head with the nail. You can't make this shit up. The 5-year-old was on YouTube. She was watching YouTube. She was watching Sonic and Hedgehog, and she was watching videos, and she was watching Frozen. She was doing her thing. But the little 2-year-old, she likes to run behind me all the time. I don't care which way I'm going, she going that way. I don't care if I gotta poop, she gotta poop. I don't care if I gotta pee, she gotta pee. She right behind me. She won't. Great, if I crack open a can of beer, what's that? She won't let me breathe. She up on my ass. So, she was in the kitchen. Their mama had bought them some McDonald's, some breakfast, some pancakes and hash browns and carrot and butter and all of this and all of that. So the 5-year-old wanted to eat it, but the 2-year-old, Granny, you got this, you got that. She didn't want that McDonald's crap. She didn't want that shit. So I was feeding her what I had or whatever, and she was feeling it. She was in the mood. Okay, for a second, I didn't want to be bothered because I wanted to lay down because I was tired or whatever. Okay, I got back up and I got back in the mood. I had switched the identity, so because I was laying down, I keep telling her, like, go kick it with your sister. Like, leave Granny alone. Like, you step by step, you print by print. Like, leave Granny alone. Granny trying to breathe. She wouldn't let Granny breathe. So I laid down for a second. When I felt like getting back up, I got back up and I washed a few dishes. She knew I was in the mood. These kids are smart. The little 2-year-old knew I was in the mood. I don't even know if the 5-year-old knew I was in the mood. Okay. I'm vibing now. I'm kicking it. So she eating everything. And now, you know how kids, they just hungry and they don't want nothing to eat. They full, but they see stuff and they just want it for no reason. Okay. So she ate this and she ate that and she ate some of this and she ate some of that. So I had some cinnamon toast crunch in the refrigerator, which is my 13-year-old's, my 13-year-old, her favorite cereal. So I eat that or whatever, but I didn't have any milk. So I said, you want some of this? She said, I don't know, Granny. So I put like 2 or 3 little grams in her hand and she ate that. I said, you want that? She said, Granny, I want that. That's okay. She said, you ain't got no milk? I said, no. I said, Granny ain't got no milk. I said, I'm sorry. I said, Granny ain't got no milk. I said, do you want it or no? She said, yeah, I want it. She said, Granny, give me a bowl. So I put about 10 or 15 kibbles and bits in the bowl and I gave it to her. She said, Granny, you ain't got no milk? I said, no, I ain't got no milk. But she kept eating it. So what I did was I had some whipped cream, they come in the aerosol can. I took the dry cinnamon toast crunch and I sprayed some whipped cream on it. She started eating. I said, you like that? She said, Granny, I like that. She said, I like that, Granny. I said, okay. So she was intrigued by the new dessert that she had just discovered. And so it was so good to her. She was eating it. She said, Granny, I want some more cereals and whipped cream. And I looked in her bowl. She had around about cereals and whipped cream in her bowl. I said, you ain't even finished eating the cereal that you got and the whipped cream that you got. I said, finish eating that and I'll give you some more. And I'm washing dishes after I shut the refrigerator door. She said, is y'all ready for this? Baby, you gonna have to sit down. Is y'all ready for this? I said, finish eating what you have. She said, okay then, bitch. I said, what? I said, what did you just say? She said, I said, okay then, bitch. It's the 2-year-old. I was so outdone. I kept washing dishes. I said, I was laughing inside, but I said, what the fuck going on? Who she been around? That woman said, okay then, bitch. So I let that slide. I got on the phone. I texted her mama, because her mama was out somewhere doing something, so I texted her. I said, listen. I said, you gonna have to stop at the gas station and buy me either. It's your choice. I said, you can buy me a pint of vodka for $5 that's pop up that's red, or you can buy me some Camel Crush Menthols that's $12. It's up to you. I said, this little girl then said, called me a bitch. Then said, okay then, bitch. She said, Mama, she said, which one? She said, they've been cussing up a storm lately. I said, I ain't telling you. She said, I'm going to beat both of their asses. I said, you better not touch my 5-year-old. You better not touch Kalia. You better not touch her. I said, she's a sweetheart. She over there on the couch chilling, watching YouTube. You better not touch her. I mean, you gonna have a run in. Me and Mama gonna have a, you and your mama gonna have a run in. Okay. She said, okay. She said, I'm gonna stop and get it. I said, thank you. I said, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with this. I'm trying to figure out how to cope with this. But although I know how to cope with this because my mama taught me how to cuss when I was a baby. That's how I know how to cuss. And then something else has happened. I don't remember what happened. She asked me something. She wanted something, and I told her no. The 2-year-old, I told her no. Is you sitting down or is you standing up? Because my advice to you is to sit down. I told her no. She said, fuck you, Granny. I said, what did you say? She said, I said, fuck you, Granny. Y'all, I'm laughing in the inside, but I know this shit is dangerous, and I know this shit is severe. I got on the phone, I touched her mom. I said, listen. I said, now she talking about fuck you, Granny. And she trying to figure out, she want to know which daughter is doing this, because she finna whoop some ass. She said she gonna tear a new hole. She gonna tear a few new holes, but I wouldn't tell her which one it was. And I just told her, don't touch my 5-year-old, because she over there on YouTube chilling. She on the couch. You touch her, we can have a run-in right now. So I'm pretty sure she know which one it was. But I'm thinking to myself, I ain't going to whoop her because I'm accustomed to this. And my mother taught me how to cuss when I was a baby. That's why I know how to cuss right now. So, and when she called me a bitch, I am a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, she had something that she needed to get off the 2-year-old. Where did that come from? She has something that she needed to get off. She's ahead of her time. She's grown folks. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to call my daughter when I get off of recording this with y'all. Now, I didn't get at her or whatever because she don't understand Granny is a gangster. Granny is full gangster. She don't know. And one day, maybe 15 years later, she going to try to test me for real and she going to. But I was thinking to myself, and I'm going to tell my daughter this when I get off of here with y'all. You better start breaking her down because I'll tell you what. She get in front of the teachers. Fuck you. You a bitch, teacher. She get in front of them with that. They're very vulnerable. They don't know how to accept that. They don't know how to take that. It might be a problem, so you better break her ass down like 4-5 times. But whenever Granny daughter want to test her, Granny sitting right here. She on the gangster she's sitting in front of. But like I said, my mama taught me how to cuss when I was in Pampers, so I know how to cuss, and I'm very good at it. If y'all watch my channel, I can cuss my ass off. I can cuss like a sailor because my mama taught me how to cuss. I don't know why. I was a baby, and she thought that was the cutest thing she ever seen. The woman said, okay then, bitch. What did you say? I said, okay then, bitch. Fuck you, Granny. What did you say? I said, Fuck you, Granny, the 2-year-old. I told my daughter, I said, listen, stop and buy me a pint of this $5 vodka, this cheap ass pop-up, because I need to release some stress. I told her what happened, but I wouldn't tell her which one. She said, Mama, she came with that pint of pop-up. She said, I told them when I got to that counter, give me 2 of them. She ain't never even tasted no pop-up before. She said, I'm going to have one. She said, I'll call you later and tell you what this thing do. You call me later and tell me what this thing do, because Granny got cussed smooth out. Goodness.